Today on Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club, we are going to be talking all about where Overwatch 2 is in the year of our Lord, 2025. We're going to talk a bit about Stadium, our hopes and dreams for the future, and if we're even still playing. Some of the two biggest Overwatch fans in Canada, are we still even playing the game? This is the Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club. Heck yeah, welcome to the Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club, the weekly podcast where we do interviews, previews, reviews, and just general discussions on the hottest gaming topics that we think should be worth your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5. As always, my name is Samson, aka Samson XP on the interwebs, and joined to me today is always at Sir Dr. JM Jordan. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Before we dive into our topic of the show, which is Overwatch in 2025, how are you doing? 2 shows in a row. We're back. We're back at it.
That's right. I'm doing well. Yeah. Definitely had a bit of a break from gaming over the last little bit. Of course, up here in Canada, we had a long weekend, and wouldn't you know it, they love to give those darn school-aged kids extra days off on top of a long weekend.
Sounds familiar.
So
yeah.
I wound up taking Tuesday and Wednesday off after we had the holiday Monday, mostly because my kid also had those days off.
Oh, interesting.
So anyways, we went up to Calgary for the weekend, and I didn't even bring the PlayStation Portal. The last couple times I've gone up, I brought it. I played a little Blueprints, but this time I didn't bother. So
wow, how dare you spend quality family time?
I know it sucks. Family time's the worst.
That's actually interesting to hear. You guys had, or at least the schools had it on the Tuesday and Wednesday, because usually here in Vancouver or like BC, they tack it onto the Friday before. So for those who don't know, we had like a random holiday that they do around this time. I think it's for us it's Victoria Day.
Yeah,
you guys too? Okay. Except I think, they tacked it on the Friday. So last Friday,
gotcha.
There was a lot of folks in the office out because they were like you. They took the day off to spend with family, kids, or whoever. So I was very alone in the office, which is nice sometimes.
Fair enough.
Well, not much gaming for you. I can't say I've done too much gaming as well this past week. This is an aside, but I started a new channel on Instagram today as of recording called @SamsonTCG. This is more of like a personal experiment of seeing how big can I grow this little Instagram channel, Instagram page. What do you call it? Instagram account. I posted 1 reel so far about my Pokemon Destined Rivals set pre-release experience. Super quick, like 30 seconds. So if you want to support, if you want to see more, as I call it, competitive cardboard, head on over to @SamsonTCG on Instagram. Other than Pokemon, I played a little bit more of Claire, a little bit more Repo, and on your recommendation, I am 5 episodes deep in Andor.
Oh, hooray! We did talk at length about that last week.
Yeah, so. And I'm like, all right, it's probably good. It's probably really
I'm glad. I'm thrilled to hear it. Enjoying it?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely, like, they're long episodes, and they're kind of slow and meditative, which is fine. But I can always see, like, they're always building up towards something exciting, and then when the episodes end, I'm like, oh, man, I want to go see the next one, but it's also late.
Yeah. They really do, like... They feel like little mini movies, honestly. They have such quality behind them. Yeah. And then, like I said, the second season, with the way that it's framed with, 3 episode drops, it feels even more like that. So.
To segue this into our topic of the show, this is not really spoilers, but the actress that plays Mon Mothra, that is the voice actress for Moira from Overwatch, is it?
No.
I feel like I heard of this before, and that,
I'm looking it up.
All right, as we research. What's the verdict?
Oh my God. You're right. The Irish geneticist is voiced by fellow Irish woman Genevieve O'Reilly, who is known for her role as Mon Mothma in the Star Wars franchise. I had no idea. That's amazing. Crazy. And Moira totally looks just like her.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. And, I love that.
And you kind of hear it. Well, now you will hear it. But
absolutely. I can hear it already now. Holy cow.
Because I think like when she was introduced in the movies, very briefly, I think someone said that to me, and it was just a fact that I never forgot. So as we were watching it with my wife, with Queenie, I was just like, that's Moira. That's Moira. And she's like, okay. This is the third time you said it.
That's hilarious. Oh, that's fantastic. I wish I had connected those dots, but I mean, what a great part of the show. She's awesome.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And I mean, she's not putting on the accent as hard and like the character at all. So it would have been hard to tell. But yeah, she does.
She's
look
very
like
prim
Moira.
and proper.
If you don't know what we're talking about on today's show, originally I wanted to do it as a Overwatch Stadium check-in, but Jordan suggested, hey, why don't we do an Overwatch 2 2025 check-in? Like where the game is at, what do we see going into the future, and kind of like how we feel about the game. But why don't we start there? Actually, before we even do that, for those who don't know, Overwatch is entering it's going to be 10 years old next year, which is crazy because it makes me think of where I was 10 years ago. But Overwatch is going to be 10 years old next year. It's gone through a roller coaster. We're not going to go through every up and down this franchise, this series has gone through. But Jordan and I have been there, I would say, since the beginning or near the beginning. It's not really the first time we've talked about our history with Overwatch, but maybe as a refresher, if you're listening for the first time, thank you for dropping by. Leave a comment and follow about what you think, or comment about what you think and a follow if you liked it. But why don't we briefly go over our history with Overwatch? When did we get involved? Kind of our ins and outs with not only Overwatch, but also the Overwatch League. And then we'll go from there and we'll give our overview thoughts and kind of keep the conversation free flowing. So if you have a thought or a comment, make sure to leave it in the comments below, whether you are listening on Spotify or on YouTube or whatever. Tweet at us or blue sky at us what your thoughts are on Overwatch in 2025, because I'm really curious. I'm genuinely curious. Jordan, do you want to start with your history or shall I?
Why don't you take us away?
All right. So the year is 2015. No, the year's 2014.
14.
I'm going to bring us way back. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Blizzard games, I've always known, were pretty good. I liked Warcraft. I wasn't able to play much World of Warcraft because I was a child and my mom barely wanted to buy us video games, and now I got to tell her we got to pay every month, so I never got into World of Warcraft. StarCraft 2, I think, was the deepest. Me and my brothers got into it, so we all liked Blizzard games. And then in 2014, they released the this is how like memorable this game is. They released that trailer with the two kids in the museum, and it was basically a superhero fight. Winston kid. And yeah, they were fighting for the Doomfist Gauntlet, which wasn't even they didn't even have a plan for that yet. Yeah. Widow, Tracer, Reaper, and it was like beautifully animated, like Pixar level at the time. And then it was going to be a hero shooter, and that really perked my interest because one of the other games I really enjoyed playing was Team Fortress 2 on PC. So then, like, about 2 years passed. I got into, I think, the third or fourth beta right before the game came out. And then when the game came out, like, everybody was into it. Like, all my friend groups, all these different friend groups, everybody was playing it. And that kind of momentum, I would say, carried on into the pandemic. It was just always there. It wasn't perfect, but at the time back then, these online hero shooter live service games were still pretty new. I think the only other one you could argue was a live service game was like Call of Duty, and I guess like Warcraft, the MMOs. But like these shooters were pretty new. And then Overwatch League happened. Vancouver got a team. I was very pleased, met a lot of cool people through it, especially Jordan a couple later years down the line. And then I carried into the pandemic. And during the pandemic, when we had nothing to do inside, the go-to game was Overwatch because it fit 6 people on a team, which is a lot of people. Yeah, there weren't any updates or new heroes, but it was kind of like junk food. There wasn't really anything to play for either.
Yeah.
And then I would say Overwatch 2 came out. Everybody jumped back in. And then I'm going to say like a year into Overwatch 2. So I guess this would be like 2023, 2024. That was when everybody started to wean off. I think by then the gaming landscape was so different. Like there are other live service games. I think just trying to get everyone together and grind that competitiveness kind of ranked ladder didn't really work anymore. But it was Overwatch 2. Now we were getting updates, which is more than we could ask for after playing the same game for like 2+ years with no hero updates. It was nuts. And then that kind of brings us to 2025, where Even Overwatch 2 went through the ups and downs with like paid heroes and all that. Now we're in 2025. I would say like 99% of my friends don't play Overwatch anymore. Not even my wife, who we met through Overwatch. It's just kind of like taste change. Not that we don't want to play it, but it's like there's always something else to do. There's another game we want to dip into or try. And Stadium came out this season. This would have been April 2025. And I think that really gave us that little jolt. It was kind of new and fresh, and we hopped in, we 5-stacked a couple nights. And then from that, I would say it left a positive impression. And there were a couple nights where it's like late-ish, everyone's kind of mellowing out, and it's like, hey, should we play Stadium like once or twice? And we'd 5-stack, and that's it. And it might be a week or two before we touch Overwatch again. So that's kind of where we're at. No one's grinding Overwatch. It's no one's main game anymore. But it, and like with all competitive games, there's a grain of salt, literal saltiness. But I would say like in the grand scheme of things, it's still like looked fondly upon, but it's never anyone's top 5 choices, maybe even top 10 choices in an evening, if you had a choice. But in wrapping that all up, in my opinion, like I hold Overwatch very fondly. I met a lot of cool folks through it, especially through Overwatch League. I still think the game, there's nothing like it. I was in preparation for this episode, I played a couple rounds of Stadium, and I'm like, yeah, this game just feels right. Like maybe it's because it's the game I put the most amount of hours in, so I'm more familiar with it. But there's something about the feeling of the game that's got that like Nintendo quality. Tangent, but it's like it feels physical, even though everything we're doing is digital. It's got that quality to it, which I really respect, and I hold fondly. I like Overwatch. I hope it never goes away, even though I don't play it every day, or it's in my top 10 choices in an evening. But yeah, so I rambled on. Jordan, what's your history of Overwatch, and how do you feel about it in 2025?
Well, since you took us all the way back to 2014, let me take us all the way back to 2007.
Oh, geez.
Now we're gonna go back to a time when I was in high school, and I believe I've been in like grade 10 or so. I think it was grade 10. And a little game called Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare came out. Now, I've talked about this many times. The original Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4, was kind of where that competitive shooter bug got in me. And that's the only reason I take us that far back. I don't really need to talk about Call of Duty. I just
20 years later,
back.
They were bought by Activision.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Well, so the big thing was, and the reason I go back to that is because before that, I would say plenty of experience with Blizzard games. I had played World of Warcraft for many years before that, and during that time I was still playing it. I had always kind of watched their other franchises at a distance. I always had friends that were into StarCraft, but I could never keep up. So I literally watched one of them play through the entire campaign when StarCraft 2 released on my big screen, right? At the time, obviously, Blizzard was still mostly a PC developer. You could argue they still are. But he literally brought his gaming PC over, hooked it up to my TV, and we sat on my couch and I just watched the entire campaign of StarCraft 2, the first section that they released. So I always had, touchstones and touch points with Blizzard games. And then, of course, very similar to you, played a little bit of TF2. That was kind of where I first started experiencing PC gaming with a first-person shooter. And then as time went on and TF2 kind of, in a lot of ways, faded into the distance, of course, Blizzard came forward with this game that we're talking about, Overwatch. It largely just became a new obsession for me, right? When I was playing the original Call of Duty, sorry, I guess not the original Modern Warfare is what I meant to say. That one was a game that me and my friends would play online, and it really stuck with me, right? We played it for almost an entire year, and then World at War came out. and we tried World at War, but weren't really crazy. It didn't really grab us as much as the online in the original Modern Warfare did. So we went back to the original Modern Warfare, and we played that for a whole nother, pretty consistently for a whole nother year, until the next Call of Duty release, which I believe would have been Black Ops 1. And of course, most people, I think, really kind of found that Black Ops 1 was a lot more akin to Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare. So anyways, we were always kind of looking for that next competitive shooter. And fast forward a number of years later, we get it in Overwatch. So I pretty much started playing. I participated in a couple of the open betas that they had, of course, playing on console. Actually didn't get the game at launch. I've talked about that before. I believe I got it the holiday season after it came out. And then it just really stuck, and I kind of got really absorbed into it. And then fast forward a few years down the line from there, Overwatch League happens. I wasn't following the league in the first season, I believe, the inaugural season. But in the expansion season, it was about halfway through. I think I started following in stage 3. So that would have been stage 3 of 4. And it was sort of right at the start of stage 3 when the Vancouver Titans were at the height of their power. Of course, they would then go on to slowly slide
to be at the bottom of the list.
Place. At the time, second place after the San Francisco Shock. And then from there, events transpired. But I did from there get really into the Overwatch League, as well as playing Overwatch. And for the years to follow, I was absolutely obsessed with Overwatch. It was, the one constant in my gaming life that I would always come back to. If I didn't know what to play, I would put on Overwatch. If I just wanted to click some heads, I would put on Overwatch. If I just wanted to, I don't know, hang out in a game, much like people do in Fortnite and, life sims and things like that, I would just put on Overwatch and go jump into the training arena and just run around in there and, jump between characters and look at my skins and, whatever, decide which emotes I wanted to have on my emote wheel and that kind of stuff. I would just go kill time in there because I love the game that much. Of course, a couple of years into that obsession with Overwatch and Overwatch League, I started my own podcast, One Man Watch Point, which I did for, I believe, 3 full years, if not slightly more than that. I was just looking. I don't recall if I got to 150 episodes. I think it was like 137 or something. And at the same time, partway through doing that, was invited onto another podcast called Ready, Set, Pwn, where we focused on the Vancouver Titans and the Toronto Defiant each and every week. Of course, both of those podcasts have since ceased to exist, although neither of them officially came to an end. So there's always a possibility they come back. However, I did then go to the Overwatch League Grand Finals in 2023, which was an awesome trip. I will always shout out the Toronto Defiant organization because they really hooked me up with that trip. They gave me a media pass, and I basically had all access to pretty much anything I wanted. I was in the interview rooms, post matches and things like that. And I got floor seats because of that. I got in the exclusive, fan zone that most people had to pay a lot of money for. And I may or may not have had to pay anything for that pass. But that was, experience of a lifetime, trip of a lifetime for me. Did it solo, and just met a ton of cool people, hung out with a ton of cool people. And then the Overwatch League collapsed. Quite literally. That was the final grand finals of the Overwatch League.
This was like 2022 or 3?
2023. September of 2023 was when it all ended. So he gave that amazing speech at the end, had the whole stadium up in tears. I made a whole bunch of friends that, I'm still in some of their Discords and things like that. And none of us talk anymore. But every time there's an Overwatch event, someone says, anybody going to this one? Anybody going to Stockholm? Anybody going to Dallas? And there's usually a few people that do. So I would love to make it happen. But anyways, I don't. And so, that's kind of my history with Overwatch. And up to this date, I feel very similar to you. I'll still pop in every now and then. I don't foresee ever deleting it from the hard drive. If I need to free up space, I'll go delete Fortnite. And I'll delete and re-download Fortnite 100 times over before I'll delete Overwatch, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Because it does have that quality to it, that that crispness. And I really like the way you described that kind of physical feel to it. It really has an identity that I think is what keeps, people like you and I coming back. So
Totally.
that's kind of my history, a brief overview of my history with Overwatch, and even where I'm at today. So
one thing I really like that you touched on is that it extends beyond just playing the game, right? Like you traveled for it. And you met real folks through it. I kind of hinted at that, but yeah, it's like this.
Well, look at
this,
us.
this entire podcast existence
Exactly.
actually, really. And then there's like, I forgot to mention it as well, but I also traveled 3 times to watch Overwatch League. Once in 2019, and then in 2022, or twice in 2022. I went to the grand finals in Anaheim and Toronto. So
I didn't know that.
So I
didn't know you did it the same year. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it just worked out with vacation, and I have family down in the States, so really I just need a plane ticket. But it was really fun, and I met all the folks, the people you like watch on YouTube, like Zoe, Golden Boy. Reinforce, like the community is so small that you can walk up to them and just have a conversation and do photos, and they love their jobs, so that makes it even more fun for fans. So this game has been in and around our lives for so long, so it is kind of weird to like be in 2025 and it's like, oh, this is not even our choice to play every night. Like, and some of our Overwatch friends, they don't even play Overwatch anymore.
Totally.
Everyone's branched out to different things, which is like fine, because I feel like there's so many good games out there that you should be spending your 5 to 9 trying many new things, seeing what's out there, experience as much art and creativity as possible. Overwatch is still going on in 2025, despite us saying like we're not playing it. It's not a dead game. They just released like the biggest update since Overwatch 2. There's still heroes every other month, or every other season, which is every like 8-ish weeks, 9-ish weeks, I think, or more, a little more than that. And the Overwatch League that we met each other through is now called the OW, or Overwatch Championship Series, and it functions more of like an open circuit for all types of teams. So you see esports orgs get up there, but you also see I think a team was called like Duckies or something, and was playing against the big names like Nightmare and Fnatic and all those. So it is a bit more open. Oh, and Overwatch returned to China, which is huge. There was a falling out a couple of years ago, and the game was taken offline. But now with like under new management, it seems like they worked something out, which is great. And the fan base there seems very strong as well. They did it's Singapore or Guangzhou, where they did like one of the tournaments, one of the majors. So it's still going on. There's still a huge fan base. Like anecdotally, I wonder if these are just all new fans who haven't gone through the trenches like us, and they're like, oh, what is this fresh, new, well-polished game with a huge history, colorful characters? There isn't really too many other hero shooters like it right now, where it's so colorful and different, like superheroes, like Avengers. What is this game? And let me play it. So it's still doing very well, which is really nice to see, because that gives me hope that later down the line, maybe the spark will come back. Maybe in another 10 years, we'll be like, remember that game we played when we were young? I wonder if it's still around. And then we'll be playing all that. But that's kind of our view on Overwatch so far. I want to bring the conversation to talk a little bit about maybe some of the new modes or that have been in Overwatch. Most notably the Stadium mode, because I think that Stadium mode, the announcement of it, if you go back to our earlier episodes, that kind of really perked Jordan and I's interest. And then it came out. It's already out. It's been out for a couple weeks now. So we have some thoughts on it, because this is the biggest update since they rebranded to Overwatch 2 and everything. And since then, Overwatch is like, since Overwatch 2 came out, there's also been a bunch of changes as well. Like, they stopped making you pay for heroes. All heroes are free from now on. 6v6 is now like a permanent game mode that they tested over and over again, and it works and people enjoy it, so they're keeping that around, which is hilarious. But Stadium is the biggest new mode. For those who don't know, Stadium is 5v5 Overwatch, 1 tank, 2 damage, 2 supports. And instead of playing just one objective on one map, and I don't even want to say really long map, because Overwatch games are like 20 minutes long compared to Deadlock and League of Legends, which can go up to an hour. Instead of playing one 20-minute game, you're playing like up to 7 5-ish minute games of different game modes and different maps. And I'm just going to pull this description from overwatch.fandom.com under Stadium. In Stadium, 2 teams of 5 compete in a best-of-7 series. Unlike regular Overwatch, the players are able to upgrade their heroes with a wide array of custom options as the match progresses. At the start of the match, players are allotted a small amount of Stadium cash and gain access to the armory, so the shop, where the players can purchase items and upgrades for their heroes, like weapon, ability, survivability buffs, new powers that modify their abilities. In between rounds, players can use the armory to purchase buffs for their heroes, and in between other rounds, they can unlock free powers, which are bigger changes to their heroes. So basically, it's the MOBAification of Overwatch, slightly. And before I dive into my thoughts, Jordan, I'd like to know, how much have you played of Stadium, and what are your thoughts on this new mode?
I haven't played a ton. I played enough, and one thing I actually spent a good amount of time doing was, again, just going into, I forget what exactly it is, but they have like a mode where you can just go play with the abilities, and you can see, what you want to spend points on for any given character, and kind of work out different builds. And of course, in doing that, they also have, and they might have this in the actual full-fledged Stadium mode as well, they have a couple like pre-built modes. Not modes, builds, I guess. Yeah. So you can just say, hey, I like this. I want to be a Lucio that, does just insane healing or something like that. And, don't really focus on any of the melee ability, or not necessarily melee, but fire ability, whatever you want to call it, shooty that Lucio does. So I went and played with that, and I just kind of looked at, okay, I'm going to look at all my characters, the main characters that I typically play. I generally play support, so I looked at a few of these support characters and just kind of played with what you could build for them and how you could really make it work. And the big thing that I really found was, when you're doing it in that kind of testing ground, holy cow, does everything feel broken? It really is like, oh my God, you can be so overpowered in any way you want to, right? If you want to, like I say, be a Lucio that just dishes out heals and that's it, you can do that. If you want to be Lucio that makes everyone zip around the map really fast and everything like that, and really focus on the speed boost instead, you can do that. If you want to be a damaged Lucio for some god-awful reason, you could do that. And it really lets you kind of tweak the game, and in a lot of ways feel like you're breaking the game. Now, where that kind of is balanced, of course, is the fact that when you're playing this mode, you're not the only one, right? It is, 4 other people on your team who are also souping up their character, and you're playing against 5 people who are doing the same thing. So it really does kind of even it out. And I was mostly impressed with how it didn't feel broken when you're actually playing it. It feels fast-paced. It feels frantic and chaotic. But at the same time, I never felt like it did feel broken. There were some characters that, sure, some of their abilities and some of their boosts that you could give them did feel like they needed tweaking, and they've already released a mid-season patch to tweak some of that, to bring some of it down, full on changing some of the abilities and boosts that they have given characters because they realized how broken they were. But overall, it really felt fresh and it felt new. And I couldn't help but feel like 4 years ago, this would have been a major shot in the arm to the game. And of course, if I do a quick Google search here, let's just go Overwatch 2 release date, October 4th, 2022.
Yeah, not
for
even
all
3
intents
years
and
ago,
purposes, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
If we think about how much people were clamoring for Overwatch 2 at that time, and how eagerly they were anticipating the release, if they could have released with this mode, I think this game would be a lot more of a hot topic than it is currently. And again, like you said, you highlighted, it's not a dead game. I actually pulled up the steamcharts.com for Overwatch 2 here. Last 30 days, average players on Steam is just under 28,000, which is increasing from April, which was increased over March, which was increased over February. And then January had been a bit of a decrease. So anyways, the last 4 months or so, the game has been trending upwards. The numbers aren't insane, like 28,000 players, and that's up from 24,000.
But that's
currently,
just Steam. Like,
exactly.
We're not counting
Yes.
consoles. We're
True.
not counting Battle.net.
Very good point. Very good point. 26,000 according to SteamDB. And you know what? That's a really good point. Because I do think that in a lot of ways, Overwatch actually found a pretty big audience on console. Regardless of if the pros and everything like that want to admit it. I mean, there's a reason it came to Switch, and it came to Switch 6 years after it came to PlayStation and Xbox, right? And it's because they have seen success on the consoles. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, my big takeaway from Stadium was actually that it's a pretty awesome mode. And I really feel like it could have been an insane shot in the arm for this game, but I do feel like it's a little bit too late. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, I agree. With the shot in the arm thing, I like how that's the nano boost to the
nano boost to
it. If it came any earlier, if it came at a different time in the world where it was like pandemic and nothing going on, wow, I feel like the narrative would change so much faster. There's also an underlying narrative where everyone's like, oh, why did they call Overwatch 2? They canceled it, whatever. They made a lot of mistakes. And like, the PR is tough. But like, I do feel like the narrative is changing. There is a new generation of folks who are rediscovering or discovering it for the first time. And there's so much to offer here in terms of just game and content to play. I think the thing why it's challenging that it's not crazy anymore is it's like the gaming landscape has changed. Everyone's got their junk food game, their Roblox, Fortnite, Warzone, or even like other games like Stardew Valley. And like not everyone plays the same thing anymore. Brings me back to like my dad always asks once every couple of years, like, what's the best game right now? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like asking what the best movie is. It depends on what the person's into. It's gotten that big. Taking a step back, my thoughts on Stadium. I want to say, since it came out, it's only been like 4 or 5 weeks. I feel like I've only played it like 5 or 6 times.
Fair enough.
But of those times, I either 4 or 5 stacked, and that has been a lot of fun. Just like being a team again, coordinating, discovering everything together again. Like I think I'm gravitating towards Ash and doing like a dynamite build that explodes into smaller dynamites. Cool. I also really liked Rhine, where I built like just attack speed and speed, and I'm just zipping around. But I also know what to shield, and that's been really fun. So there is a lot of and I bring it back to a point from an early episode, like skill expression and skill ceiling and player agency again in Stadium. So I really like it for that. It really is a case of what's everybody in the mood for tonight. It's hard to play these team-based games by yourself, and with no crossplay. We can't play with each other yet on Stadium. At least they said it's coming.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it is hard to convince, like, not just yourself, but 4 other people to stack with you for Stadium. But it is fun. It is very fun, and it's only going to get better. I think they released the new hero Freya into the mode this week, and I played a little bit before recording this episode just to get myself grounded again. And I'm like, oh, I don't know this Freya guy at all.
Freya's nasty.
Yeah,
she's a. I feel a little bit like she's one of the first of the sort of new wave of characters that really has a high barrier to entry and a high skill expression. Like, she is challenging to be good with, but you can be very good with her. Kind of similar to when Ana released, and she was like, yeah, sure, anyone can point her gun, but people who are really good with Ana really show what she can do, right?
Yeah, love that. I and that makes me want to play more. I want to know
Yeah.
not just how to play her, but also how to play against it.
Mhm,
Because there
mhm.
was a lot of parts. Like I think we're getting to the weeds, but like Freya jumped way up in the air, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't. It's very high."
Mhm,
And then
mhm.
I get shot. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
well, okay. Learn not to do that next time.
And some of her cooldowns are tied to her jump. So if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
if you use a cooldown, it refreshes her jump and things like that. That's why I say she's a very intricate character. It's a cool one to watch, that's for sure.
And for free too. So
Oh yeah.
if you play the game now, like you get this character for free, you can play with it and get
Mhm.
good at it. I'm of the believer that you shouldn't really have a main, but like if you want to, it's there, and
Mhm,
it costs
mhm.
you nothing except your time
True.
to download the game.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed Stadium. I can't wait to see them build it out. Um,
Mhm.
it's hard to say that because it's like I know these developers will only get. I don't know about being under Microsoft now. I feel like Microsoft really likes Overwatch as an IP. That's why they bought it
Yeah,
and
fair
write
enough.
it and everything. But
Mhm,
these developers only get supported if people play their game or spend their
mhm.
time in the game. You don't even need to spend money because I think just having time spent in the game is a lot for them.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the biggest challenge for me, it really is finding 4 other people to play with and convincing
Right.
them to be like, hey, you want to do this really hyper competitive thing at 9 p.m.
Mhm,
tonight?
mhm.
Of course, you don't have to take it really competitive if you don't want to. Um, but that is part of what makes it fun and part of why I gravitate towards Overwatch and now Stadium. Yeah, I find Stadium extremely fun. So really
Yeah.
looking forward to playing more.
One thing I forgot to mention
Mm-hmm.
is it is definitely in the same vein as, like you said, MOBAs, Valorant, Counter-Strike. When you start those rounds and you're looking at this list of skills and abilities you can build out for your character, it can be overwhelming. It definitely helps that, for you and I think, for me, certainly, it helped that I obviously have many years with the game and understand it very well and already innately know pretty well every ability for every character, with the exception of probably Freya.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, reading through that was like, it's a good thing I understand what's going on here, because it would be very overwhelming if I didn't. So, anyways,
Yeah, totally.
but that's kind of par for the course, right? They knew that going into it, and I'm sure that came up, and they said, how do we onboard people into this mode? And they probably said, for all intents and purposes, it is a hardcore mode, right? Nobody's jumping into Counter-Strike or Valorant and not looking to, hey, this is the buying phase.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do here, right? If you don't know, you're going to figure it out, or you're going to move on to the next game, right? So that's kind of what you're
Or
in
play
for.
the base mode until
Yeah,
you're more
totally.
familiar with all the characters. That's so true.
Mhm.
This is and the people who know how to build in these games, like the people that do play Counter Strike, they'll know how this
Mhm.
works. Like you get around, you buy your buffs,
Exactly.
you get your items or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and then you go do
Currency
your
and
round
whatever.
and go in, and it's just adjusting from there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really wonder if they did this mode as well, because the gaming landscape has changed, like Valorant, with
Mhm.
MOBAs, with Counter Strike, of course. Like
Mhm.
the concept of play around, take a break, buy your
Mhm.
things, play another round, like that idea concept is now
Mhm.
more understood. It's ubiquitous with like what a
Mhm.
platformer is. Mario's goal is to jump to the next platform. So maybe it is a right time, right place kind of thing. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
now that people know how this works, we can implement those systems into our
Yeah.
hero shooter. Because Overwatch, and
Yeah.
now when we look at it, it's pretty bare bones. Like all the characters are the same. You don't even need to count ammo. You have unlimited ammo. Don't even need to manage mana. It's pretty simple game.
Yeah. True. True.
Well, talked a lot about our past and our present. I want to talk about our future, or
Mhm.
at least what we think the future of Overwatch should be. Um, I don't really have too much creative things to say. I would say like keep doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
Stadium is still so new uh,
Mhm.
that it still needs to be super fleshed out. And one thing we glossed over is like not even all the heroes aren't even in Stadium yet. I think there's only a handful, like 10 or
Mhm.
15 or something out of the 40 something now we have. Um, I'd say focus on Stadium, flesh that out, because that could be the next big thing for
Yeah.
not only Overwatch but also like competitive Overwatch.
Mhm.
For just getting another generation of folks in who are looking for a bit more of that that tactical hero shooter. Are there tactical hero shooters? Valorant, I guess.
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah, I'd say
Counter-Strike.
Valorant, Counter-Strike, Apex, but even Apex isn't that big of a thing anymore. Let's check the Steam DB.
And
Apex Legends.
Caveat: Steam DB is not the end all say all, but it is a good gauge to see like where people are at, right? Yeah, I was gonna say like Apex. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, I know. Apex. I haven't heard that name.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, and other than that, for Overwatch, I really want a reason to get back into the esports side of it.
Okay, Apex has way bigger numbers than Overwatch.
Really?
Yeah, last 30 days, average player count 129,000. April 106, March 90, February 95. So a bit of a slide there, but apparently they've been
I think there was
largely increasing over the past few
this
months
for them, but even then, like Overwatch has had seasons.
Yeah, totally.
Well, good for Apex.
Anyways,
I take it back.
I guess so.
I take it back. My bad.
I guess so.
My bad. I don't want to start a war here. I also enjoy Apex, but it is kind of like Apex and Overwatch, kind of in the same. It's not my go-to chill out game anymore.
Yeah,
it's a little sweatier too. Sorry, what I was saying with esports as well. I really hope they like find a way to capture at least myself again, where we would go travel for esports, but I don't know. That might be a time gone and past thing for myself, because like it's hard to travel just to be a spectator. Now, if I'm traveling, it's got to be worth it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I got to compete in Pokemon. Maybe one day. Jordan, what do you see the future of Overwatch?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting thing to speculate on, because it really does seem to be one of those games that just keeps on going, right? And I would say that, maybe it's just an awareness thing, but it does feel like it has more of a competitive scene than a lot of these other games. Like, I think you do have your big ones, right? You have League of Legends, you have Counter-Strike, you have Valorant. And then, maybe you do have Apex, Call of Duty League, and then, Overwatch. And how many other really competitive shooter games are there that have some form of actual competitive scene behind them? Like,
did you mention Valorant?
I did mention Valorant, yeah. That's the thing is, I would say there's probably 3 kind of big ones, right? League of Legends, not a shooter, but probably the biggest esport out there. I guess Rocket League is another one, thinking of other genres. So they're maybe at the top, and then Call of Duty League, Valorant, Apex. It's not a huge list of games that have a big competitive scene behind them, right? Smash is always there as well.
Oh, Counter-Strike is huge in Europe and
for sure
those countries on the other side.
For sure. But it just, to me, it is kind of like, what does success look like to the Overwatch Champions Series and to Overwatch themselves, right? Are 25 to 30,000 concurrents on Steam, is that a success for them, right? What does Microsoft want out of them? I know with Activision it was up and up and up and up and up, but really it is a question of what are they looking for. I know for me personally, I had said on and off the record, I didn't think there was going to be an OWCS season 2, right?
Oh yeah.
I thought after that first season, it seemed to me like interest had waned enough. Marvel Rivals was a thing. There's one that I hadn't thought of. But Marvel Rivals had come and, to an extent, eaten some of Overwatch's lunch. And I just really didn't think that there was going to be a second season. And then sure enough, they announced there's a second season. There's now relegation, where I think bottom 2 teams, duke it out with the top 2 teams of the Face It League, and can either drop or join the league or the Champion Series. And, moving into an international event in China and all sorts of stuff like this. So they really surprised me with that second season. If I had to guess, is there going to be a third one as well? I mean, it seems to me like it's at least the same amount of success, if not more, than the first season was. So I would say there's probably going to be another competitive season of OWCS. You're right. That is an area where I would love to get back into it. It just kind of, because they went grassroots, and this is a very Western way of thinking about competitive sports. I found, because they went grassroots, because they had a group stage of 256 teams competing and things like this, it just became unmanageable. It didn't help that they weren't broadcasting or advertising when they were broadcasting a lot of the bigger matches. And that kind of, hurt the interest for me personally. And that's a part of why I fell off. But I would love to see it get back to what it once was. But I don't even mean, hey, I miss the old days of the league. I just want it to be, honestly, easier, make it more accessible, make it more obvious. And, ultimately, if I wanted to seek it out, I could. But yeah, I'd love to kind of see that. Now, that's kind of the competitive side. In terms of where the game actually goes, I wouldn't in a million years have guessed that they would release a stadium mode.
Oh, really?
I never thought they would go into leaning more into that MOBA, that, buying phase that you see in Counter-Strike and Valorant. I did not see that coming. And I think that really was kind of a stroke of genius, because it feels a lot like they took a lot of the systems that they were probably working on for Overwatch 2, that they were at one point probably planning to have in that single player mode that we will never get. And I think they kind of repurposed a lot of that stuff. And I think that's a really smart way to reuse a lot of what they had already worked on, and a lot of the stuff that was kind of probably sitting at the wayside in many ways. Like you say, I hope they build on it. I hope they make that bigger and better than ever. But yeah, I mean, just like gameplay wise, I don't know what else they could do, right? I find they're very creative with their modes. They do limited time modes where they tweak the game, and special modes where it's, whatever, seasonal, and you've got 6 Mays fighting one Winston who's souped up as a Yeti and all sorts of stuff like this. And so I think they do a really good job of keeping that stuff fresh and releasing new things in that way. The only thing that like jumps out at me as like an easy thing for them to do is crossovers, of course, because I love character skins.
It's true. We didn't even talk about the crazy crossovers they've done so far. Transformers, right. Like Gundam.
That's right. Yep.
LeSeraphim twice.
Yes, true. And the latest crossover that's ongoing right now is with Street Fighter 6, which blew my mind, because I never even really considered the fact that outside of Blizzard, they might cross over with another video game. And now I think this is probably, just from what we're seeing with other games, I think this is probably more of a Capcom-driven thing. Of course, Street Fighter being a Capcom property. They're also crossing over with Monster Hunter, which, of course, is another Capcom property. But I have a feeling Street Fighter was probably approached them and said, could we do something? Would you guys be willing to work with us? Rather than the other way around. Now, pie in the sky, Blizzard, do that. You guys reach out to other companies. Extend the olive branch. Let's see a Square Enix partnership. Let's see Final Fantasy VII in my Overwatch. Let's see Kingdom Hearts 4 in my Overwatch.
I don't know about that one.
I would be so incredible. I would lose my mind.
Yeah,
that would give me back to Overwatch every single day if I could be, I don't know, Mickey Mouse Winston or something like that.
Mickey Mouse Winston.
Yeah, with his Tesla cannon. Shocking Goofy Genji or something. I don't know. That'd be a lot of fun. But I think one thing that they're also doing really well, coming back to the crossovers, but also coming back to the game as a whole, I think they know their audience really well, because we have now seen a number of anime crossovers. There was a One Punch Man crossover. There was a
My Hero Academia.
My Hero. I was trying to think. I was like, I could picture the skins. There's My Hero. There was Gundam, which you mentioned. Transformers is kind of Gundam adjacent, right? There was Cowboy Bebop. I think they know their audience, and I think they're seeing that people buy these anime skins. Even LeSeraphim isn't that far of a leap from anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they put a One Piece crossover into this freaking game,
yeah,
I might drop full price for this game again. I might drop $60 just so I could play as, I don't know, who'd be a good Luffy? Like Zenyatta, maybe, because he's kind of floaty, but I don't know. I'd have to look at the hero list and think about this. Yeah, there isn't really a stretchy hero.
Zoro Genji.
Oh, easy.
It's really a stretchy character. Somebody who's a leader, soldier. I don't know.
yeah, true.
Stranger things have happened, right? It's like
exactly
Superman running around with a gun in Fortnite.
Totally.
I think the One Piece collab will happen. I think it's inevitable. I think it's inevitable.
I do too. And the fact is, we're gearing up for season 2 of the live action Netflix One Piece. So I think it could be on very close on the horizon too. That's, yeah, I'm scared because I could drop a lot of money on that. Yeah, exactly.
Listen to
start
exactly. Another.
That's right.
Game, a free game.
Yeah,
And then I'm like,
it is, but like they're popular characters, right?
Yeah. And
so
it's like, yeah. So when a skin comes out for your favorite character, make sure you spend money on it.
Exactly.
It's all data driven at that point.
Totally.
So yeah, I agree. I think there are little things that can hook us back in. It is kind of funny. It's like throughout this conversation, the thought came out that it's just like we're just, what is it called when you're spoiled by richness? Like you're so spoiled of a good thing that it doesn't even matter. There's a saying, I swear. Okay,
I believe you. I feel like I know what you're talking about.
It's like when there's something so good that that you don't even think about how good it is anymore. And I think that's the Overwatch ecosystem right now. Like the game is now so good. There's new content every month. The devs are active and communicating and responsive. If you look back 5 years ago during the pandemic, this is a very, very different and dire situation. It really was for the love of the game back then. But now it's like, yeah, we're getting everything we wanted 5 years ago. And it's funny because it's like, yeah, it'll always be there for me, hopefully. And I'm not playing it every day. But yeah, it is still a fun game. It is really nice to enjoy. I think a year from now, if they keep doing what they're doing, if they keep releasing these like stadium updates that include new heroes, they basically get another wave of hero releases because there will be stadium players like probably like myself who has played almost 10 years of core Overwatch. I don't think I'm going to play the base mode anymore. I'm just going to play stadium. Like what's a hero I really like playing that's not in stadium right now? So many heroes now. It's Ilari comes to stadium. I'm going to try to get the gang back together. I really like playing Ilari on support.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Keep doing what they're doing, and it is the junk food game for me. No notes. Did you ever find out what I was trying to allude to? Something?
No, I didn't. I did some googling, and I came up kind of empty there. So I mean, like I saw like having a wealth of riches or something
like that. Yeah, wealth
silver
of
spoon. I don't know,
something like that.
Anyways,
what about you, Jordan? Where do you want to see Overwatch a year from now, or where do you see it a year from now?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. One thing that I actually just kind of thought of now, I want to see what they do with Stadium, but not just in the core game. I think Stadium feels a lot like it lends itself in a different way, but almost in more ways to a serious competitive scene. And it would be really interesting to see if the Overwatch Champion Series could do something with Stadium. I don't know how they would do that because it is for all intents and purposes, it's the same characters, but an entirely different game, right? So I wonder if they'd be able to do I don't know, maybe they even do just like it's a mini tournament at one of the live events. Like the problem is, the teams aren't going to show up to that because they don't want to split their focus, right? But I would love to see how they could, I don't want to say make a new league because that obviously is a ton of overhead, but I want to see what they could do in a real competitive sense. Could Stadium overtake Overwatch Prime, we'll call it, as the core competitive scene, right? Because that could be very interesting. That puts it a lot more in line with Valorant, with Counter-Strike. Even if they don't condense the rounds, like you said, 7 up to 7 rounds, and they are quick, right? They do feel like they go by very fast, but could they extend the timer on those and really just make it so that, those up to 7 rounds can take an hour and a half to get through, right? That's honestly kind of how an OWCS match that is competitive, they can go that long, right? They can go an hour and a half, depending on, if it's whatever 5 map game or something like that. So it would be really interesting to see what they could do there.
Yeah, I would put money there already thinking about it. They're trying to figure out how to adapt it. Totally. As well as teams like preparing for this inevitability because they put so much work in it. You're right, it does fit that format so well. And I was just thinking from like a narrative, and like one of the challenges that Overwatch League always had is like, this game is so fast, how do we even talk about the narrative, and they've gotten better at it over the years. But it'll be easier with Stadium, where you get a little break to chat, explain what's going on before going into what's essentially like 2 or 3 team fights. It's like a natural break. Yeah. Well, that was a lot of yapping about Overwatch
About
2
Overwatch.
and where we see it. I'd say my conclusion is that I've been a very optimistic. I'm generally pretty optimistic about most things, but optimistic state of where the game is going. I would love to support it more if I can, but it is very much the hopefully junk food game that will always be there for me when I'm bored, when I want to click heads, when I want to feel a little nostalgic. Lots of reasons. So I'm really happy with where it is right now, and I can't wait to see how they improve on what is making it great so far, notably Overwatch Stadium. Jordan, what's your conclusion for Overwatch 2?
My conclusion is that they need to release a One Piece crossover, and I'm going to take this opportunity to throw some ideas out there for character skins. I don't know how well you know One Piece. Are you familiar with most of the core characters? The core.
I watched a
crew?
Netflix show, and
okay,
I see the other characters on the One Piece cards, and
fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, one really jumped out at me, and that's going to be Jinbei Roadhog. Now, you probably wouldn't know Jinbei if you only know live action, but if you look up a picture of Jinbei, you'll see the similarities to Roadhog. Another one I'll shout out. I'd like to see possibly a Sombra Nami. Of course, Nami, known as the cat burglar. Sombra, the connection is pretty obvious there. And then finally, I'll close it out with saying, give me Torbjorn Chopper. Give me Chopper.
Not even
cute
Hammond,
Chopper.
not even Wrecking Ball.
You know what? That would have made a lot more sense, but I didn't think of that. So give me Torbjorn Chopper.
All right,
yeah.
all right, get in.
There it is. Yeah.
Surprise us, Aaron.
Yeah, those are free ideas for you, Blizzard. You talk to me if you need some good ideas. Don't talk to Samson. He'll just suggest things that make sense, like Hammond for Chopper.
Hey, I'm gonna suggest things that will make them money, like Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
no, they just got to put Cristiano Ronaldo in the game.
Oh,
he gets to be his own hero. Yeah.
There you go.
What fighting game did he just get introduced to?
Oh, something City of Wolves or something. Dunham.
Is that what it was?
Else. Fatal Fury? There's a wolf in there somewhere, I swear.
Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. Good
City
job.
of the Wolves.
You got it. Yeah.
I do not watch football or soccer. So don't come at me. I know Messi and Ronaldo and I know Lewis Hamilton races in F1.
I was gonna say, but you recovered. You steered the F1 car back onto the track there.
I kind of want to watch that movie. Keep seeing trailers for it. Brad Pitt.
I did see a trailer for that when I went to see the Thunderbolts just the other day.
So. Oh my gosh. This is slowly becoming a movie podcast, so we gotta close it up. Thank you so much for listening to our thoughts on Overwatch 2. As two Overwatch fans, I'm not going to say lapsed. We're still there. We're still there. It's just like we're over here and the game's over here. But anyway, thank you for listening to our thoughts on today's episode. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at Grow Up Level Up on all the socials. You can follow me, Samson, at SamsonXP on everything as well, at SMSN on Blue Sky. And you can follow my new trading card, Pokemon trading card. I named it Samson TCG because I don't know if I'm going to use it for other stuff. But at Samson TCG on Instagram. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and comment. Make sure you shout out my co-host here, Jordan. Jordan, where can people find you?
You can find me on all social platforms at Sir Dr. JM. That's at Sir DRJM.
That is correct. And like I said, comment, let us know what you think. Do you agree with our thoughts? Do you still think, why is it called Overwatch 2 when they got rid of the PvE? Leave that comment below as well if you want, because we're just going to
Yeah, please leave that comment for us. We'd love to see it.
As we close out the episode, we have to get our weekly words of wisdom from the Sir Dr. JM right here. What are our words of wisdom for the week?
All right. Not so much words of wisdom here. This time, you have a job to do. I have here the Game Informer magazine, the PlayStation 4 issue. Nice full front and back cover of Infamous Second Son, spanning the thing there. This released at some point. I don't see a date on it. So anyways, it was before the PlayStation 4 released. So here we have an article by Tim Turry. Top 10 disembodied hands in games. I want you to give me at least one of the top 10 disembodied hands on this list.
Me?
You. Yes.
Oh. I meant the audience.
If you have any guesses, you can leave them in the comments below.
Oh my gosh.
As well.
One of the top 10.
Just one.
I don't think Resident Evil 7 came out yet. Because I noticed somebody hand. I keep thinking of the hand from Adam's Family, the thing.
I don't know if it's ever made an appearance in a game. At least it didn't on this list.
Disembodied hand, either before or
now. Look, and this spans all games and game time. So these are mostly older entries. The PlayStation 4 issue has nothing to do with it.
Oh, okay. Oh, Rayman's floating hands.
Oh, I love that. If I had written this article, that would have definitely been in here. That is not in here, but I'll give you the number one disembodied hand in video games. It's the hand himself, Master Hand from Super Smash Brothers.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
Well, comment if you got that correct or not.
Yes.
Bye.